Welcome back to my channel. We are vlogging sign of Ikshvaku, and today we shall start chapter 15. Without further ado, let's start. The next day, early in the morning, Kaikeyi set off for a rendezvous with Bharat and Shatrughan across the Sarayu. It was at least a 2-hour ride from where Dhinuka's corpse lay. The brothers have washed off the blood and swiped away signs of the previous night's event. They donned fresh garments and burnt away the stained ones. Kaikeyi said to them that what they did was justice. Bharat and Shatrughan, however, were still angry. Even though wrath is required to deliver justice, they were young and they didn't know how to let go of their anger. Bharat gave Kaikeyi the blood-stained cloth that covered Roshni's body, and Kaikeyi decided to give that back to Manthara personally. Then he touched his feet and left. So did Shatrughan. Dhinuka's body was found by a group of villagers with murder of crows feasting upon it. Numerous holes have been viciously hammered into him, with huge burnt marks as if something acidic had been poured inside the wounds. A sword was rammed into Dhinuka's abdomen, right through the tree trunk. He slowly bled to death, and then came the crows for a feast. One of the villagers recognized him and asked, "Why can't we just leave the body?" The leader of the group said that they'll wait, and ordered one of his men to go to Ayodhya and convey the news. Everybody was angry that Dhinuka was being left out due to legal technicality, but justice has been served. He looked down at the body and spat on the corpse. Manthara rode out of the north gate with Dhruvu by her side. They crossed the great canal and soon reached the cremation ground by the river in half an hour. At the far end was the temple of the mythical first mortal, Lord Yama. Lord Yama is considered the god of death, as well as god of dharma. It is believed that dharma and death are interlinked, that a tally sheet is drawn at the end of one's normal life. If there is imbalance, the soul would have to return to physical form in another mortal body. If it's balanced and that karma is aligned with dharma, then the soul would attain ultimate salvation and release itself from the cycle of rebirth and reunification. 7 Pandit conducted the rites in the temple while Manthara held the urn within which lay the ashes of Roshni. Dhruvu sat by the river and observed. His mistress had changed forever. She was doing things she has never done before, actions that could harm her business and even her personal well-being. She has put her life's work at stake, with vengeance in her heart. He was afraid. Manthara walked towards the ghats, her guards behind her, followed by the Pandit. She descended to the river 1 step at a time, sat on the final step, the water of the river lapping around her feet. The Pandit stood a step above, reciting Sanskrit mantras to help the journey of Roshni beyond the mythical river Vaitarani. He was repeating the hymn from the Ishavasya Upanishad, one that is recited during cremation ceremony. Vayur anilam amritam athidam bhasmantam shariram. Let this temporary body be burned to ashes, but the breath of life belongs elsewhere. May it find its way back to the immortal breath. Dhruvu was observing Manthara, and a thought came to his mind that the old woman has lost it. She is no longer useful to the true Lord. I need to take care of myself now. Rituals were done. Manthara opened the lid of the urn and allowed the ashes to drift away in the river, and said, "Don't come back to the ugly world, my child. It has not been created for one as pure as you." With anger in her eyes and chest, she looked up and said, "Ram, you protected the monster. You protected Dhinuka. I will remember." Ram, on the other hand, got the news of what had happened. He soon rushed to the scene where Dhinuka has been murdered. Everybody was shocked and taken aback by the fury of Ram, who always held his composure. He was angry. He was asking who did it, and nobody knew. All of a sudden there was a loud shout. "Dada!" It was Lakshman. "Dada, you need to come with me right now." Ram said that he was busy. Lakshman said, "Dada, Guru Vashisht has asked for you." Ram looked at Lakshman with irritation and said that, "Tell Guruji I have some." Lakshman interrupted and said, "Dada, Maharishi Vishwamitra is here. He is asking for you, specifically for you." Ram stared at Lakshman. He was shocked. Vishwamitra was the chief of the Malaya Putras, the mysterious tribe left behind by previous Vishnu, Lord Parshuram. They represented the sixth Vishnu and was tasked to carry forward the mission. Vishwamitra, born as Kaushik, was a Kshatriya and the son of the great king Gadhi. Despite being a brave warrior in his youth, he turned towards becoming a rishi. Against all odds, he succeeded. He reached the pinnacle of Brahmin ascension and became the chief of the Malaya Putras. After taking over, he changed his name to Vishwamitra. Malaya Putras are tasked to assist the next Mahadev whenever he appears, and their primary work was to give rise to the next Vishnu when he comes. Ram was caught up between two tasks. However, Lakshman made him understand that Vishwamitra has been known for his legendary temper, so it wouldn't be good to keep him waiting. Ram decided to reach quickly and took a horse from his men. And he remembered what Guru Vashisht told him about, that someone would come to meet him. Vishwamitra asked something from Dasharath, and he had denied. Vishwamitra, in a mellifluous voice and with an underlying threat, asked Dasharath, "Are you saying no to me, your highness?" Vishwamitra was a fearsome man, and his towering persona added to his indomitable aura. With 7 feet height, gigantic proportions, large belly, muscular chest, shoulders and arms were intimidating. His wide beard, knotted tuft of hair, limpid eyes and the holy janau tied over his shoulder was a contrast to the numerous battle scars on his body. His dark complexion was enhanced by his saffron clothing. Dasharath and his queens were called for a meet by Vishwamitra. His request was simple. One of his ashram were under attack, and he wanted Ram to defend it. No further explanations were provided by him as to how the young prince would protect a Malayaputra tribe, given the fact that Malayaputras themselves have the strongest militias in India. Dasharath was getting nervous. Even when Dasharath was at the peak of his powers, he was still scared of Vishwamitra. For the past few months, Dasharath had grown fond of his eldest son, Ram, and he didn't wish to part with him. So he said, "Vishwamitra, that my lord, I'm not suggesting not to take Ram, I'm just saying that General Mrigasya would be a better person to be at your disposal. All Vishwamitra said is, I want Ram. And I also want Lakshman. Kaushalya didn't know what to make of this offer, but however she was delighted that Ram would have a chance to get close to the great sage. But she was also concerned that Vishwamitra would use him for his martial skills and then just abandon him. And Kaikeyi was just waiting for this opportunity. Ram's absence would help her install Bharat as the crown prince. She said, Maharishiji, I would be honored to send Bharat to accompany you. But Bharat is not here, said Vishwamitra. Kaikeyi said that yes, that is what I was going to say. We will have to wait for a week. Bharat will be immediately called. Vishwamitra gazed at Kaikeyi and she got nervous immediately. There was an uncomfortable silence. Vishwamitra with a booming voice then said, I want Ram, your highness, and Lakshman, of course. I don't need anyone else. Now, are you sending them with me or not? Sumitra intervened and said that there has been a protocol blunder. The venerated Rajguru Maharishi Vashisht is not here yet. He is needed to be called immediately and then we can start with this conversation. Vishwamitra laughed and said, the third and junior-most queen is the smartest of them all. Hence, conversation ended there and they all went back to their chambers. Vashisht entered the royal office and dismissed the attendants. As soon as they were alone, Vishwamitra stood up and said, so what arguments are you going to bring up to keep Ram away from me, Divodas? Vishwamitra used the Gurukul name of Vashisht, a name given to him at school. Vashisht replied with deliberate politeness that he isn't a schoolboy anymore, and he liked to be called as Vashisht, most preferably Maharishi Vashisht. Vishwamitra stepped close and asked, Divodas, what are your arguments? This is a divided house. Dasharath does not want to part with his son. Kaushalya is confused. Kaikeyi wants Bharat to be the one, and Sumitra is smart, because whatever happens, one of her sons will be aligned to the cause. It was absolutely clear that Vishwamitra wanted Ram and Lakshman to go with him, regardless of what arguments were made. Vashisht said, Kaushik, it looks like you are going to force your ways in, no matter how unfair it is. Vishwamitra then said, and it looks like you will once again run away from it, Divodas. Vashisht, with his fist tight, face remaining deadpan, said, you will never understand why I did what I did. Vishwamitra, with a sniggering smile, said, for the greater good, isn't it? Do you want me to believe that? There is nothing more pathetic than people who hide their cowardice behind noble intentions. Vashisht said, you haven't lost your Kshatriya arrogance. It is amazing to watch that you believe you are a representative of the great Lord Parshuram. Vishwamitra then replied that everybody is aware of my background, Divodas. There is nothing I hide. Do I have to reveal your origin to the little prince? Vashisht lost control. You didn't do me any favor, said he. Vishwamitra smiled and replied, I may do just now. Vashisht stormed out of the room, and inside his heart, Vashisht knew he owed a modicum of courtesy for the memory of the friendship they had.